Hey everybody, Josh Sigurdson, a World Alternative Media here, and of course we're joined by author and economic analyst here at WAM, John Sneisen, and we are approaching the new year, 2018. Christmas is over, back to work for WAM after a few days off, and there is some big news going into 2018 that could make a huge difference, and that is, will gold hit the moon in 2018? And we've been waiting for a long time. We've seen artificially bear markets for a long time due to banker manipulation, paper, ETFs, derivatives, the usual banker manipulative nonsense. But it appears that gold has recently broken its 5-year bear trend, and there is a lot of optimism on that level. And of course, with gold comes silver as well. And as this article from Zero Hedge says, gold jumps to key technical level as VIX collapses. And as the article goes on to say, traders are dumping equity protection and building chaos protection as VIX tumbles near the year's lows. And gold jumps back towards its 100-day moving average and its highest level in months. Gold is up 9 of the last 10 days and its highest since early December, and testing its 100 DMA, $1,292. And there's also some comparisons with Bitcoin here in this article, and it says, and while Bitcoin has stabilized, a divergence between the alt currencies is closing. So there's a lot of action happening in the markets, not a whole lot in the news per se, but we can always make the news ourselves because there are some very interesting trends that we've seen as of recently. And John, you have a bit of information here that you got a couple charts. Can you go into that?
Well, I'm going to look at the gold ETFs, the fund flow ETFs. And what's interesting is that there's not very much happening. We talked about before in a couple of videos before this month that there's been outflows of ETFs, but still people are accumulating the physical metal.
Yeah.
So there's still people out there, especially the Chinese, the Indians, and Saudi, like in the Arab Peninsula, there's a lot of people that are accumulating. Russia, of course, is accumulating gold
China,
and silver.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because they know the fundamentals of any central bank should know. If they studied just a little bit past their Keynesian degree, which is under a 100-year history, they'll see how history works. So when you look at the outflow kind of, or this, it's just been like a little bit up in ETFs this year. Very slow, like it's probably 2008, 2005. There's only like 2004, 2003 that are worse years over the last 15 years that we've seen so far. So as you can see, there's a very low belief that gold will do anything at all. Well, people have kind of, since Bitcoin came in, they kind of lost the faith in the gold as a store of value.
But there's a good reason for that too. I wanted to mention, because I love gold, I love silver. We've been talking about it since the beginning here at WAM. It's something that is a really important part of the diversification of your personal asset portfolio, etc. And with something like gold and silver, we've seen vast amount of manipulation by the banks. And until recently, there hasn't been much manipulation of gold, or Bitcoin, by the banks. But of course, we see the futures come in and talks about ETFs as well, because anything good has to be ruined by the banks, but not for long. Actually, when we have gone into this before, we've also mentioned that even though the physical sales are up and the ETFs are bringing the price down, it's kind of like an IOU note in a sense. It's manipulative. In the long term, the banking system is going to go down, so none of this will matter too much. So it's kind of like holding a beach ball underwater and it gaining pressure, and eventually it bounces up. So once the banking system goes down, so will gold and silver. Gold and silver will skyrocket, as will things like Bitcoin, as long as Bitcoin gets all that nonsense under control with the whole transaction fee and all that stuff.
Well, what I think is the reason why we're seeing gold and silver stay so put, and what we've seen, actually a lot of people have been selling their gold and silver and coming over into Bitcoin, is because they don't understand the fundamental of gold. Is that it's not an investment. So if you have it as an investment, then it's fine. Move over to Bitcoin because you're going to make way more money there. Get
involved in stupid ETFs if you want.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Get over there. Get over to the side that actually are making you money. Now, what you got to understand with physical gold and silver is that it's a wealth insurance. I don't know how many times you need to tell people about this, because they're looking at, my gold and silver is not doing anything. Well, it's supposed to be there stored away until that big collapse happens
in a
fiat
free
currencies.
in a free market, in a free competing currency market, yeah, you can use it as money, you can trade it back and forth, but in the meantime, as the fiat empire comes down, because all fiat currencies eventually revert to their intrinsic value of zero, they always have, they always will. Going back to 1024 AD in China, the fact is they always crash, and it's printed out of thin air. There's no cap on it, just quantitative easing, out of control insanity. And gold and silver always stand to be wealth insurance in those periods of time when we are forced under these legal tender laws into this debt-based nonsense that we call fiat. So, of course, long term, gold and silver are way up there, and people look at it, in a really bearish sense in the short term, because they're like, well, I can't make money right now off of that. But long term, it's not even about that. It's about wealth insurance, because that paper is going to be worth nothing more than wallpaper, if even that.
No, it'll be worth whatever it could buy you in other commodities. That's what it would be worth when the fiat empire dies. It wouldn't have a dollar value per se at all. And well, it will until the dollar or whatever currency it is falls.
And then you compare it to the price of living.
Yeah, price of living to any other commodity that you use it for money to trade with. So that's what you got to understand. It's and what we're seeing is like the gold price is going to go up substantially when finally all this money with the new tax bill that's coming in, for example, with the United States, not just the bond sell-off that could happen, but the tax bill, there's going to be so much more. There's been talk about almost $4 trillion suddenly coming into the U.S. economy. What is that suddenly going to do to the economy when there's $4 trillion?
Let's make it clear that's temporary.
In the local economy.
Yeah.
Think about that. That's a sudden massive spike in dollars in circulation inside of the U.S. borders. So,
and by the way, as I've kind of gone into loosely before, this whole tax bill is not good enough on any level. Taxation is theft. It needs to be.
What they don't understand is if you got to cut taxes in the first place, if you wanted to have that government, you got to also cut government spending. You're going to get a little bit of it looks good for a bit, but then you're going to come down again because the government keeps on increasing.
And then they'll blame low taxation as opposed to just big government out of control, coercion by the state.
Yeah, it's just a vicious cycle of what's going on there. What you're trying to accomplish, what you got to do is you got to lower the government to such a minimum that there's nothing there if you want that government.
And bring it to the voluntary private contract system.
Exactly. And then you got to have a sustainable government that could actually, just do minor little services if you wanted to. But me and Josh, of course, we're anarcho-capitalists, so we don't believe in that government being and stealing your money.
But I believe in other people having a government if they want. It's up to them. Down to the private contract rather than a coercive collectivist social contract that no one ever signs. But that's apart from, the point that we're trying to make is that, all governments that are out of control, actually I should change that. In control, that's a problem. Yeah. All the central planning, all that insanity, the manipulation of markets, the manipulation of the monetary system, all of that will come to an end. And we can't put a finger on it because, the fundamentals are off the table due to the level of manipulation in the monetary system and the markets. But we know it's going to happen, so that's why you have to get prepared. And gold and silver are incredible wealth insurance. Bitcoin's great because it's decentralized. Of course, there's problems. Look into all currencies as well. There's a long road to go down with that still. We're only just in the beginning of that system. So I believe that in 2018, Bitcoin and, its counterparts are going to do very well.
Oh yeah, of course they will, and they work in cohesion because what you got to understand, Bitcoin and altcoins that are coming out right now, probably not too many of them anymore, but the initial start of it was that, they wanted to take out the big central banks and the banking system. That's what they wanted to do. Well, we can take a look at gold, for example, in Venezuela and South Sudan. The gold price there versus their currency, they protected their people's wealth. Instead of if they had, let's say, 100,000 bolivars in their bank account, they'd be eviscerated their wealth. So, of course, it's a protection that... all this talk about the cryptocurrencies, which is fantastic, for people investing in them. We kind of forgotten the message of gold and silver laying underneath there.
And of course, the idea came from the whole idea of gold and silver. And this isn't a Bitcoin video. No. I'm not going to go into that too much, but I wanted to mention something that I often mention to those that look at it hesitantly and skeptically, and I understand why. I did for a long time as well. Bitcoin is based on the model of gold and silver. So there's not a lot of gold and silver in the world. So there's scarcity, there's demand, there's application, there's use of that said asset. Bitcoin is modeled in a lot of the same ways where there's only 21 million coins ever being created by the year 2140. It's mathematical fundamentals. It cannot change. And then, of course, there's scarcity, and then there's demand, and there's application, though the application is teetering off right now due to the crazy fees and everything. So there's a lot of movement to other altcoins, which still have a lot of sustainability in the application sense. But the whole idea was based on gold in the first place. So that's a credit to gold and silver's lasting prosperity over history. And looking at going from 2002 to 2012, it went up from $200 to $2,000. Then, of course, it fell down because it entered an artificially bear market due to bankster manipulation.
Massive amounts of short contracts.
Yeah. And while the physical sales went up, the ETFs came in. They pulled the price down, and this is why we see what we see today. So don't be so bearish in gold. It seems to have broken that bear trend, and it looks like it's heading up in the future.
They're having struggles to keep it down. Like, they really wanted it super low, but they can't keep it down. It's constantly fighting back up. Like, now it's almost at, like, currently it's almost reaching at another $1,300 an ounce again. So it's keep on fighting back against these banksters and all their manipulation, all the power that they have. You got to remember that JP Morgan has the most substantial amount of physical silver in global holdings. They actually have hoarded, I think, 600 million ounces or something plus.
They know something as well.
They have a little bit of a clue what's coming down the line, because there's probably some bankers that have been taught from not just from the Keynesian degree that they have, but from their parents or their peers and so on. They'll be taught what works and how the world works, and of course that's why they're having that insurance. Yeah,
absolutely. So with that said, this all comes down to preparation for that long-term hold, that preparation to have financial responsibility, self-sustainability in an environment that's crumbling and collapsing by design right in front of us. And looking at gold and silver, there's a reason why the banks are hoarding it, because they know something that a lot of people don't, and that's why you have to hoard it as well. In my opinion, this is our opinion, not financial advice, because of course you need a crazy degree in order to do that from some Keynesian university indoctrination camp. But the fact of the matter is, in my opinion, we need to look towards diversification between gold, silver, Bitcoin, other cryptocurrencies, and protect ourselves, because in the end it will come down to food, water, shelter, self-defense, so you're not gathering things for the toughest guy in the block, and of course gold, silver, and decentralized cryptocurrencies. Get off the centralized grid, ensure your wealth, and make sure that you have an ability to take care of your family and your friends as well, and yourself, of course, long term. And that's the bottom line for me. So John?
I got just one more bottom line. Remember that silver actually is backing this whole revolution of electronics behind everything. So we also got to understand, and it's depleting heavily in supply. So it's another great reason why silver is such an crazy undervalued asset.
Yeah, of course, and of course it brings like Bitcoin and stuff brings value to silver as well due to the all these crazy mining rigs.
Well, it's built by silver as one of the major
components.
Components. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. So until next time, thanks for watching, everyone. We'll be back with you with much more. This is Josh Sigurdson and John Sneisen signing out from World Alternative Media. Find the truth,
be the change.
Like what you see here at WAM? Don't forget to check the links below. GoFundMe, Patreon. We can't do it without you. Any donation is very much appreciated, especially as we are so overwhelmingly demonetized and censored by YouTube as the Anti-Defamation League comes in and flags all of our content as hate speech. You can also find me at Josh Sigurdson at steemit.com. That's steemit.com, the future of social media, where you get paid in the upvote of your post via Steem, the cryptocurrency. You can also find our Bitcoin address in the description and the comments below, as well as on the screen for you to scan if you please. And don't forget to come on down to Anarchapulco in Acapulco, Mexico in February, one of the best events of the year, and you can save money on your tickets by typing in promo code WAM. That's WAM. We'll leave the link below for you, and until next time, don't forget to subscribe. This is Josh Sigurdson signing out from World Alternative Media. Find the truth, be the change.